It's the Shadow Home Affairs Minister, James Paterson. James, good to see you. So let's start in Israel. Just this announcement by the PM this morning, the government chipping in another $15 million towards humanitarian aid for Gaza. Your thoughts on this? This is the second contribution we've made.
Look, the humanitarian crisis in Gaza is a serious one, and Australia is a country that steps up and helps out when things like this happen, wherever it happens in the world. It's critical that we funnel those donations through reputable global charities that have very robust policies and procedures to make sure that none of those funds inadvertently find their way to Hamas. It has happened in the past when Australian aid to the Palestinian territories has resulted inadvertently in some funds going to support of terrorist organisations. So I hope the robust checks have been put in place to make sure that doesn't happen this time.
OK, just on the state dinner that's taking place at the moment, James, I mean, this date was set a long time ago, but how does the theatre of it all rest with you with the war going on in the Middle East?
I'm not concerned about that at all, Pete.
Okay.
I mean, this is a very important demonstration of the very deep institutional, cultural and political links between Australia and the United States. And we should never step back from celebrating, commemorating and recognising the importance of this relationship. It is our most important strategic partnership. It is our most important alliance. And we are in a time where we do need to signal to others, particularly in our own region in the Indo-Pacific, how strong that bond is and how determined we are to continue to maintain it and maintain our shared values in our region, particularly the maintenance of the peaceful status quo in the Indo-Pacific.
And just on that, and Joe Biden's language that he used this morning, pointing to China, he claimed in a prior phone call to Xi Jinping years ago, who had concerns about Australia at the time, Joe Biden said the US is a Pacific nation, you know, pointing to our closeness, no doubt. But what are your thoughts on his comments this morning?
It's actually quite a profound insight that at a meeting between Xi Jinping and Joe Biden, that the Chinese leader asked the American president why America was so close to Australia and why they were so interested in Australia. I mean, that shows that many in the Chinese system don't understand the very fundamental and deep values-based bonds between Australia and the United States. It shows their interest in our relationship and their scepticism about it. I mean, we do know that for the best part of the last decade, one of the objectives of the Chinese government's foreign policy has been to attempt to split Australia off from the United States and weaken that alliance. And it's critically important that neither the United States or Australia allows that alliance network to be broken down, whether it is between us or whether it is between our other partners and friends in the region like Japan. I mean, these are alliances for democracy. These are alliances for stability. These are alliances for security. And they underpin the security and the stability and the peace of the entire region for all nations in the region.
Just finally, James, hotter inflation figures yesterday. Money markets pricing in an increased chance of a Melbourne Cup rate rise now. Jim Chalmers says, though, whoa, not so fast. Your thoughts on that?
Well, Jim Chalmers a few months ago and the government a few months ago was saying that the interest rate cycle had ended, that there was no need for any further increases in interest rates, that inflation was under control. And I fear that their complacency, that their arrogance and that the way in which they're out of touch has been going to come at a very high cost for Australians, because I fear there will be more rate rises, including before Christmas. And that's not much of a Christmas present for the Australian people from Jim Chalmers, but he will wear the responsibility for that because he's completely sat out the game of tackling inflation. He's done absolutely nothing at all to rein in government spending, to rein in the contribution to inflation that the federal government here is making with its extraordinary largesse. And Australian families are going to pay the price. They're going to pay in higher mortgages, they're going to pay in higher rent, they're going to pay in higher grocery and petrol prices and gas prices and electricity prices. And that the government will wear that.